One principal characteristic of our work and is, above all, an end-to-end commitment to putting patients and their communities at the center of all of our work. We're guided by our Patient Engagement Council, our patient ambassadors, and the patients and caregivers with lived experience who really help us with our research governance committees and advocacy. Some of these volunteers are here tonight, and I will ask them to stand so that we can recognize them. Jackie Duda, Sharon King, Tony Villiotti, and I think the last person is not able to attend, but please stand so that we can applaud you and thank you for your contributions. If you're lucky enough to be at a table with one of our patient advocates, please try to meet them. They were incredibly inspirational people, and you can find many of them also on our website at our patient engagement portal. So speaking of inspiration, let me now invite Soania Mathur to join me. Dr. Mathur was diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's disease and transferred that experience into advocacy and action. As a patient representative on our AMP Parkinson's disease and related disorder steering committee, she is really helping us advance efforts to improve treatments and outcomes for people with similar conditions. We're profoundly grateful for her counsel and her advocacy. So please welcome Dr. Mathur to the podium.
Thank you for that very kind introduction. Good evening, everyone. What I'm about to say may not be politically correct. That's how a researcher began his next statement during a virtual Parkinson's research meeting I attended not that long ago. Let me clarify, it wasn't the FNIH or NIH. I remember pausing, curious, and then came the question that I was entirely unprepared to hear. Why do we need patient representatives? What do they bring to the table? In that moment, I realized that even today, the patient voice, our voice, can still be undervalued in the research process. I've been living with Parkinson's disease for 26 years. For me, what began as an annoying intermittent tremor in my right pinky finger soon evolved into a progressive, incurable, neurodegenerative condition, young onset Parkinson's disease at the age of 28. Not the most convenient time. I had just begun my family practice and I was expecting my first child. It was a turbulent time as the tremor moved from my right hand to my right leg and then to the left side. The non-motor symptoms left me with pain, anxiety, swallowing issues, and exhaustion from lack of sleep. This relentless disease affects every aspect of life, physical, emotional, mental, and social, from taking care of my young children to my work responsibilities and my relationships. The challenges progressed to the point where I had to give up my clinical practice. And while I mourned the change in my life trajectory, I threw myself into patient advocacy, lending my voice and my experience to this remarkable community that faces the challenge this disease brings every single day. As both a physician and a patient, I've lived on both sides of the examination table. I've seen how medicine can, at times, fall into a paternalistic pattern where patients are treated more as data points than as individuals. But I've also seen the transformation that happens when we change that mindset, when we shift towards patient-centric care and patient-centric research, where lived experience drives shared decision-making. That evolution from research on patients to research with patients is what drives my advocacy today and it is why I feel such privilege to be involved with the FNIH. This is why programs like FNIH's Accelerating Medicine's Partnership for Parkinson's Disease and Related Disorders, or easier to say AMP-PDRD, are so vital. They embody what it means to bring all voices, scientific, clinical, and patient together. The inclusion of the patient voice brings vital insights into the diverse nature of Parkinson's disease. No two individuals experience it quite the same way. It is a pervasive condition that extends far beyond movement symptoms. It encompasses a wide range of non-motor challenges, all of which profoundly affect quality of life. Because of this heterogeneity, treatments focused solely on symptom control are rarely sufficient. As the disease advances, those therapies often lose their effectiveness, leaving many of us facing increased disability over time. But through our work with AMP-PDRD, we're moving closer to what every person living with Parkinson's hopes for, treatments that can actually slow or stop the disease itself, disease modification. And a big part of that effort is focused on finding reliable biomarkers, measurable indicators that will allow us to meet a real unmet need in our community. Reliable biomarkers would allow us to diagnose the disease more accurately and ensure that the right patients are enrolled in the right studies. That's how we'll discover more effective treatments and ultimately a cure. And throughout that process, people with lived experience will continue to play a vital role in shaping the path forward. I share the FNIH's perspective that patient engagement is not an afterthought. It should not be tokenistic. True patient engagement doesn't just improve science, it strengthens the entire culture of research. It humanizes disease for those developing treatments. It informs how clinicians and researchers should think about what matters most. And it bridges the gap between lived experience and scientific decision-making. As AMP-PDRD continues to define its future study claims, it is essential that the patient voice remains central because together, researchers, clinicians, and people with lived experience, we're not just advancing science, we're advancing hope. So instead of asking why patients deserve a seat at the table, perhaps the more important question for the broader research community is, how can we strengthen our partnership to accelerate discovery, transform care, and one day end Parkinson's disease and other disorders once and for all? Thank you.